Hello YouTube Vintage Stereo Restorers. This is a 1971 Pioneer stereo amplifier model SA500A. There was an SA500 that preceded it. It was around 71, 72 they transitioned. They're both for sale in some stereo stores at the same time. Basic difference, this one has the TO220 outputs, different heat sink. There's a headphone transformer in the matching transformer in the SA500. Both great amps for different reasons, but it comes down the quasi complementary circuitry and the fact that these are just over-engineered and overbuilt. That quasi complementary capacitor coupled circuitry, it has a unique sound. A lot of people like it. It's on a comeback, and I've got people that are in their 20s that appreciate this type of quality. They're coming into the world of stereo and hi-fi, which was my world when I was 20. Anyway, look at the way this is built. All the metal in this chassis. Each control individually mounted with a nut. You can actually take the switches out and replace them. Everything accessible. Like for instance, the tone control board here. 2 nuts. Push it back, flip it over, you can work on it. No crazy taking things apart and unsoldering things. It's mainly point-to-point wiring with some boards. So over here, like I say, you have the tone control board. This is the power amp board. This is the phono preamp. Back here, everything's basically, hand wired. Overbuilt, supposed to be 12 to 14 watts per channel. I'm telling you, it sounds like 50 or 60 in newer technology. These really have a nice sound. They're warm, they're musical, lots of bottom end. This one here, I'm basically recapping the whole thing because at this point it had a mishmash. I would say there were 2 or 3 repairs on it in its history. Some caps were replaced, had 3 different brands of output transistors, and these are a little bit vulnerable. The output transistor is mounted with a nylon screw. And the screw would break, the heat would push the transistor away, then the transistor couldn't dissipate heat anymore into the heat sink. People drove them hard, they shorted the speaker terminals, and on this side, replaced all the transistors and caps on this side. And I usually go as heavy duty as I can, but I don't try to match the original part number. For instance, I'm using 2905s as the PNP driver and 2222s as the NPN driver for the outputs. Tip 31s, Cs, for output transistors for the NPNs, so just a little heavier duty, something that's easily available. 3904s here. I haven't done the tone control board yet. Sorry, the phono preamp. I have another amp on my mind, sorry. But I can show you just basically what's been replaced. Those caps in there. And the reason I do this, I've talked about this before, they get noisy. Transistors usually either work or they don't, is the way I was taught in college. But in the audio applications, they get noisy. And you get little things, you turn on the amp and there'll be a whistle, crackling, popping. Many times it's an old NPN transistor right at the beginning of this silicon era. Well, I'll show you the bottom of this, see if I can flip it up. It's pretty heavy with one hand. There we go. So on the bottom again, you have this combination of point to point. This Pioneer was crazy about fuses. So you take like a Kenwood 2500, K2500 from the same era. It has 1 fuse. This one has 5 underneath and then a fuse and a holder for 6. Actually makes more sense. If one output is shorted, it should blow the fuse on that rail, etc., etc. But here's what I usually find. You'll have blown output transistors, like this one had a shorted output transistor, didn't blow the fuse. You could run it all day long, it wouldn't blow the fuse. Really nice manufacturing job on these. The only thing about them is the circuit board is very vulnerable. Sorry about the reflection there. Whoever did the outputs before and the driver transistors on one channel really slopped it up. Just mounted the solder on. And then, you vacuum these off and the actual land comes with it. So you got to clean the land off and then crazy glue it back down. And it works, it will hold, and it will look great. Anyway, I'll do a video later with this one up and playing. Thanks for watching and listening.